We are live, going right into this last minute live streaming of Joe Biden's address to Congress. Thought I'd take the opportunity to test out some new gear and do this live stream too. Hope everything sounds good. Everything should sound good. If anything doesn't, let me know in the comments and I will promptly attempt to fix the issue. We are getting started here. Midnight Pizza Man in the chat, starting off strong by letting me know that I am God. Thank you, Midnight Pizza Man. That's the YouTube chat. We are broadcasting live on YouTube, Twitch, and Periscope, aka Twitter, because Periscope, they're doing away with Periscope. And Facebook, which all of a sudden I'm getting like every day. I don't use the Facebook page at all, but every day for some reason, 1 or 2 likes. I don't know what's going on there, but I like it. By the way, this broadcast is brought to you by this old soda I found in the back of my fridge. It is a Saranac Shirley Temple drink. Perfect. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. Let's get started. I'm going to just quickly share this episode on, well, this YouTube link, I should say, on Twitter. Look how they're all socially distanced. Aw. Come over to my YouTube channel. We'll be watching Joe Biden's address to Congress. So yeah, I'm testing out some new equipment, and this is happening today. So I thought it would be the perfect time to. Am I synced up? Is the video and audio synced up? That's the number one question right now, because I'm going into a new source. Not going into the old now it's 6-year-old MacBook Pro. And let me go back to the YouTube chat. Damn, Joe Biden's running late. Can you believe that? Unbelievable. We do not tolerate tardiness on this show. We do not tolerate tardiness at all on this program. I'm going to do something here for something new we got going on here. Let's see. Samantha Sider with the super chat. Thank you, Samantha. Should be Bernie doing this speech with a crying face emoji. Yeah. Well, it is not. Alas. Womp womp. Joey on Periscope says, "Why am I here?" I don't know, buddy. Only you can answer that question.
Madam Speaker, the President of the United States.
Remember when Trump would come out for these? Remember when Trump would come out for these? He would just have this puss on his face. I mean, maybe. It would be great if Joe Biden was making the Trump face right now, actually. And you just can't tell because it's under the mask. I would actually think that's really cool. Get more of the stream up on here. Yeah, Bernie. There's Bernie. There's Bernie. There's Bernie. Tim Bob done with the super chat. Oh wait, I lost my little super chat thing at the bottom there. Oh well, I'll still pull it in. Timbo done with the super chat. Who's wearing Joker face paint? That's right. I've turned into the Joker as well. Yeah.
Members of Congress, I have the high privilege and distinct honor to present to you the President of the United States.
I missed it. Running for president says LMAO, she would have got ghosted.
Thank
Did
you.
you all see that? Missed it. And shout out to
Thank you.
Jay Rowdy, apparently the only Twitch chatter up in
Good to be back.
I gotta put Biden lower here. He's peeking. Peeking, buddy. Someone fix Biden's sound.
Mitch and Chuck will understand it's good to be almost home. Down the hall. Anyway, thank you all. Madam Speaker, Madam Vice President. No president has ever said those words from this podium. No president has ever said those words. And it's about time.
It would be pretty funny if some president did say that by accident, even though there wasn't a woman vice president. We should go back and see.
First Lady, I'm her husband. Second Gentleman, Chief Justice, members of the United States Congress and the Cabinet, distinguished guests,
Looks like I'm hanging out.
my
right
fellow
there.
Americans.
Looks like I'm right there with him.
While the setting tonight is familiar, this gathering is just a little bit different. A reminder of the extraordinary times we're in. Throughout our history, presidents have come to this chamber to speak to Congress, to the nation, and to the world, to declare war, to celebrate peace, to announce new plans and possibilities. Tonight, I come to talk about crisis and opportunity, about rebuilding the nation, revitalizing our democracy, and winning the future for America. I stand here tonight,
Winning the future.
one day shy
It's one of those like
of
brand
the 100th day of my administration.
shopped phrases.
100 days since I took the
It
oath of
polled
office
well
and lifted my hand off our
in a
family
focus group.
Bible and inherited a nation, we all did, that was in crisis. The worst pandemic in a century. The worst economic crisis since the Great Depression.
That's true.
The worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War. Now, after just 100 days, I can report to the nation, America is on the move again.
I honestly thought I was going to go, America's back, baby! I mean, I guess. I mean, shit's opening back up, sure, but I don't know
Parallel
if
to
we're
possibility,
on the move again.
crisis to opportunity, setbacks and the strength. We all know life can knock us down, but in America, we never, ever, ever stay down. Americans always get up. Today, that's what we're doing. America's rising anew, choosing hope over fear, truth over lies, and light over darkness. After 100 days of rescue and renewal, America is ready for a takeoff, in my view.
Joe froze.
We're working again, dreaming again, discovering again.
I'm gonna quickly refresh
I switched from
no,
State Farm
Ned!
because of this.
No!
They had me paying $163 a month.
Extraordinary leadership of Speaker Pelosi, Majority Leader Schumer, and the overwhelming support of the American people, Democrats, Independents, and Republicans, we did act. Together we passed the American Rescue Plan, one of the most consequential rescue packages in American history. We're already seeing the results. We're already seeing the results.
Mitch McConnell looking miserable.
After I promised
Who
we'd
said
get
you can't
100
see
million
emotion due to the mask?
COVID-19
All those
vaccine
right-wingers
shots
complaining
into people's
that,
arms in
you
100
can't-
days.
You can't see a smile.
We will have provided over
can't see anyone's
220 million COVID
humanness
shots in those 100
behind
days.
that mask. I could tell you, I saw
Thanks to all the help of all
a big
of
old
you.
puss on Mitch McConnell's face.
We're marshaling, with your help, everyone's help, we're marshaling every federal resource. We've gotten vaccines to nearly 40,000 pharmacies and over 700 community health centers where the poorest of the poor can be reached. We're setting up community vaccination sites, developing mobile units to get to hard-to-reach communities. Today, 90% of Americans now live within 5 miles of a vaccination
Sam
center.
says, well, at least it wasn't
Everyone
an Epic Times ad,
over
Matt.
the age of 16.
I agree.
Everyone
That is very true.
is now eligible to get vaccinated right now, right away. Go get vaccinated, America. Go and get the vaccination. They're available.
All right. Listen, I hear it from my mom and my dad.
Eligible now.
And my partner and her mom all the time. Listen, I'll do it, Joe.
When I was
please.
sworn in on January 20th, less
gotta
than
go.
1% of the seniors in America were fully vaccinated against COVID-19. 100 days later, 70% of seniors in America over 65 are protected, fully protected. Senior deaths from COVID-19 are down 80% since January. Down 80% because of all of you. And more than half of all the adults in America got at least one shot. A mass vaccination center in
Got that Eminem song
Glendale,
going through my head
Arizona.
right now.
I asked the
This
nurse,
opportunity comes once in a lifetime.
I said, what's it like? She looked at me and she
Because he
said,
said one shot.
it's like every shot is giving a dose of hope. Is her phrase, a dose of hope. A dose of hope for an educator in Florida who, as a child, wrote to me, said she was worried about bringing the virus home. She said she then got vaccinated at a large site in her car. She said she sat in her car when she got vaccinated and just cried. Cried out of joy and cried out of relief. Parents,
J-Rock says,
seeing
what's
the
up,
smiles
Binder?
on
Just,
the kids' faces for those who are
you know,
able
just
to go back
watching
to school
good old Joe Biden here.
because the teachers and school bus drivers
What's up with
and
you?
cafeteria workers have been vaccinated. Grandparents hugging their children and grandchildren instead of pressing hands against a window to say goodbye. It means everything.
A little
Those things
bit.
mean everything.
A little bit.
You know, there's still, you all know it. You know it better than any group of Americans. There's still more work to do to beat this virus. We can't let our guard down. But tonight, I can say, because of you, the American people, our progress these past 100 days against one of the worst pandemics in history has been one of the greatest logistical achievements this country's ever seen. What else?
You know what, then? You know,
Have we done in those first 100 days?
I agree. It's been pretty
We kept our
impressive.
commitment. Democrats
in terms
and
of the pandemic here,
of sending
which is why we
$1,400
should be
rescue
helping
checks
other
to
countries.
85% of American households. We've already sent more
Which is
than
why we need to free up
160 million checks out the door.
the ability to
Making
get
a
these
difference.
vaccines,
You all know it when you
and
go
not
home.
just actual vaccines like we
many
hold the
people,
key
it's
here. People have to
making
beg,
all the
and
difference
other
in the
countries to
world.
beg us for it. We need
A single mom
to
in Texas who
provide
wrote
them
me.
with the ability
She said
to
she couldn't
create
work.
the vaccines themselves, to
relief
manufacture the vaccines
put
themselves,
food on the table
regardless of
and
what Bill
saved
Gates
her and her son from eviction from their
and the
apartment.
other billionaires who have control over our
grandmother in Virginia who told
vaccine
me
rollout
she
for some
immediately
reason.
took her granddaughter to the eye doctor. Something she said she put off for months because she didn't have the money. One of the defining images, at least from my perspective in this crisis, has been cars lined up for miles. And not people just barely able to start those cars, nice cars, lined up for miles, waiting for a box of food to be put in their trunk. I don't know about you, but I didn't ever think I'd see that in America. And all of this is through no fault of their own. No fault of their own. These people are in this position.
So
That's
why
why the rescue
haven't
plan
we done more for
It's
them?
delivering food and nutrition
I mean,
assistance
literally,
to millions of Americans facing hunger.
We should be doing a
Hunger's
lot
down
more.
sharply already.
We shouldn't be kicking.
We're also providing rental assistance.
Yeah,
You
rental.
all
They,
know
as
this.
I was going to
American
bring up
people, I wanna make
rental
sure they
assistance.
understand.
Why not just
Keeping people
pay
from
the
being
damn
evicted
rent
from
for
their
these
homes.
poor people
Providing
who
loans
don't
to
have the
small
ability to
businesses
pay the
to
rent because
reopen.
they'll never be able to catch
keep
up.
our
We're just
employees on
kicking
the
this can
job.
down the road here. Eventually,
100
they're going to
days,
have to pay
an
based on
additional
our current rental
800,000
assistance
Americans
plan.
enrolled in the Affordable Care Act when I established a special sign-up period to do that. 800,000 in that period. We're making one of the largest one-time ever investments, ever, in improving health care for veterans. Critical investments to address the opioid crisis. And maybe most importantly, thanks to the American Rescue Plan, we're on track to cut child poverty in America in half this year.
I mean, I keep seeing that stat. Oh, look, Bernie in the front row there. Gotta like it. Gotta like it. I'll take that. But
And in the process, while this was all going on, the economy created more than 1,300,000 new jobs in 100 days. More jobs in the first 100 days than any president on record. The International Monetary Fund
put the mask over your
is now
nose.
estimating our economy will grow at a rate of more than 6% this year. That will be the fastest pace of economic growth in this country in nearly 4 decades. America's moving forward, but we can't stop now.
I don't put much into
We're
the
in
job
competition
numbers.
with China and other countries.
What is it? What kind
to
of
win
jobs?
the 21st century. We're at a great inflection point in history. We have to do more than just build back better. We have to build back better.
We
have to
talking
compete more
we
strenuously.
talking
than we
minimum
have.
wage jobs? We talking gig
Throughout our
workers at
history,
Instacart and Uber?
think
What
about
are we talking about here?
Public investment in infrastructure has literally transformed America. Our attitudes as well as our opportunities. The Transcontinental Railroad, the interstate highways, united 2 oceans and brought a totally new age of progress to the United States of America. Universal public schools and college aid opened wide the doors of opportunity. Scientific breakthroughs took us to the moon. Now we're on Mars, discovering vaccines, gave us the internet. And
We're on
so
Mars.
much more.
It sounded like he said we found the vaccine on Mars.
These are
That would
investments
be,
we made
quite
together
impressive,
as
actually.
one country. And investments that only the government was in a position to make. Time and again, they propel us into the future. That's why I proposed the American Jobs Plan, a once-in-a-generation investment in America itself. This is the largest jobs plan since World War II. creates jobs to upgrade our transportation infrastructure. Jobs modernizing our roads, bridges, highways. Jobs building ports and airports, rail corridors,
I wish there was a
transit lines.
camera just on McConnell this whole time, actually.
It's
I
clean
would,
water.
that feed would be the
And
feed
today,
I'd watch on this stream.
Up to 10 million homes
Just
in America and more than
McConnell unmoved.
400,000 schools and child care centers have pipes with lead in them, including
watch that.
drinking water. A clear and present danger to our children's health. American Jobs Plan creates jobs replacing 100% of the nation's lead pipes and service lines so every American can drink clean water. And in the process, we will create thousands and thousands of good-paying jobs. It creates jobs connecting every American with high-speed internet, including 35% of the rural America that still doesn't have it. This is going to help our kids and our businesses succeed in the 21st century economy. And I'm asking the Vice President to lead this effort, if she would, because I know it'll get done.
I would love to. I hope whenever
Creates
they
jobs,
do that,
building a modern power grid.
they don't give them a heads up.
Our
Like,
grids are vulnerable
By the
to
way,
storms,
Kamala,
hacks,
you're going to be responsible for making
catastrophic
sure the
failures
internet gets out to the
with
stakes.
tragic results,
High speed, by the way.
as we saw in Texas and elsewhere during the winter storms.
I want 4K Netflix
American
streaming in
Jobs Plan
Bumblefuck,
will create
Montana.
jobs that lay thousands of miles of transmission lines needed to build a resilient and fully clean grid. We can do that. Look, American Jobs Plan will help millions of people get back to their jobs and back to their careers. 2 million women have dropped out of the workforce during this pandemic. 2 million. And too often because they couldn't get the care they needed to care for their child
Camera's out of focus.
or care
Oh, there
for
he
an elderly
is.
parent.
There's Manchin slinking
help.
into his seat. What was that all about? What was that all about?
800,000 families are on the Medicare waiting list right now to get home care for their aging parent or loved one with disability. If you think it's not important, check out in your own district, Democrat or Republican. Democrat or Republican voters. Their great concern, almost as much as their children, is taking care of an elderly loved one who can't be left alone. Medicaid contemplated it, but this plan is going to help those families
I actually like that wide
and
shot
create
with how
jobs
they're
for our
seated better than how
caregivers
they normally are.
with better wages and
It's
better
aesthetically
benefits.
pleasing for someone
Continuing a cycle of growth.
for someone
For
a
too
bit.
long, we've failed to use
OCD
the
like
most
me. I
important
like that.
word when it comes to meeting the climate crisis. Jobs. Jobs. Jobs.
Jobs. I really thought
For me,
they were just gonna start chanting that.
when I think climate change, I think jobs.
I don't. When I think
American
cleimate
Jobs
change,
Plan
I
will
think,
put
damn, we're
engineers and
fucked.
construction workers to work
This could be
building
bad.
more
What's going on?
energy-efficient
Why are
buildings
we-
and homes.
Why are we dragging our feet?
Electrical workers, IBEW members installing 500,000 charging stations along our highways so we can own the electric car market. Farmers planting cover crops so they can reduce the carbon dioxide in the air and get paid for doing it. Look, think about it. There is simply no reason why the blades for wind turbines can't be built in
Radical
Pittsburgh
leftist
instead
agenda
of Beijing.
says someone make a
No
gif
reason.
of Manchin slithering.
None.
Yes.
No reason. So, folks, there's no reason why American workers can't lead the world in the production of electric vehicles and batteries. I mean, there is no reason. We have the capacity.
Elon, we need
The
you to
brightest,
get another
best trained
Q
people in the world.
together.
The American Jobs
In
Plan is going to
Bolivia.
create millions of good-paying
For those
jobs,
batteries.
jobs Americans can raise a family on. As my
There's
dad
no
would then
reason.
say, with a little breathing room.
Uh,
And all the
John
investments in the
with a
American
super
Jobs Plan
chat.
will be guided by one
Quack,
principle.
quack, quack.
Buy American. Buy American. And I might note parenthetically,
I will
that
say
does
something
not,
about the masks.
that does not
It
violate
is
any
making it a
trade
little
agreement.
difficult to tell
It's been
which
the
of the
law since
lesser
the 30s.
senators are
Buy
there
American.
when they put them on camera.
American
Like there's
tax
ones who you can
dollars
tell without seeing their whole
are going to be
face.
used to buy
But then there's
American
others where
products
I'm like, is that
made in
I
America
can't-
to
I'm
create
not
American
sure.
jobs. That's the way it's supposed to be, and it will be in this administration. And I made it clear to all my cabinet people, their ability to give exemptions has been
I gotta-
strenuously
I
limited.
gotta add some.
It will be American products.
Some spunk
Now, I
to
know
this,
some of you at home are wondering whether these jobs are for you. So many of you, so many of the folks I grew up with, feel left behind, forgotten, in an economy that's so
wow,
rapidly changing.
John with another super chat
right.
to explain what he meant.
I want to speak directly
The
to
Jobs
you.
chant sounded like the Mighty
What do you
Ducks
think
chant.
about it?
That's right.
That's what people
I'm
are
glad you
most worried
explained it.
about. Can I fit in?
Actually, I still don't get it.
Independent
I'm still a
experts
little confused.
estimate
Can you
the American Jobs
can you
Plan
send
will
another
add
super chat explaining
millions
it
of
further?
jobs and trillions of dollars to economic growth in the years to come. It is a 8-year program. These are good paying jobs that can't be outsourced. Nearly 90% of the infrastructure jobs created in the American Jobs Plan do not require a
Sam
college
says my
degree.
boomer parents are probably thinking this is the best speech ever.
75% don't require an associate's degree.
I mean,
The American
they're
Jobs
not gonna
Plan
make
is
me
a
very. yeah, I'm
blue-collar
not gonna-
blueprint to build America. That's what it is.
I'm not going to make anyone happy with this take, but I mean, it's not a great speech, but so far, other than
And
the comments I've
recognizes
made, I mean,
something
I wasn't
I've always
expecting him
said.
to say any of that.
In this chamber and the other.
So far, not terrible.
Good guys and women on Wall Street, but Wall Street didn't build this country. The middle class built the country, and unions built the middle class. So that's why I'm calling on Congress
This part
to
right here.
pass Protect the Right to Organize Act, the
part
PRO
right here is
Act, and
good.
send it to my desk so we can support the right to unionize.
Yeah, Bernie. I was going to say,
by the
show
way,
Bernie. Right
While you're
before they
thinking
did.
about sending things to my desk, let's raise the minimum wage to $15.
I mean,
No one working 40 hours a week, no one working 40 hours a week should live below the poverty line. We need to ensure greater equity and opportunity for women. And while we're doing this, let's get the Paycheck Fairness Act to my desk as well. Equal pay. They spent much too long. And if you wonder whether it's too long, look behind me.
this is good right here. I mean, obviously,
And finally, American Jobs Plan will be the biggest increase in non-defense research and development on record. We'll see more technological change, and some of you know more about this than I do. We'll see more technological change in the next 10 years than we saw in the last 50. That's how rapidly artificial intelligence.
listen, I see the people in the
much more
chat
is
saying,
changing.
it should be 30, it should be $25 an hour.
We're
Yeah, I
falling
mean,
behind the
even
competition
Bernie's
with
at
the rest of the
15 though,
world.
because obviously, I mean,
Decades ago,
that's the new
we used to
minimum
invest 2%
minimum.
of our gross domestic product.
that
in
we need to
America.
get to,
2% of our gross domestic
So
product.
let's just
in
take it
research
for
and
now,
development.
and then
Today,
we'll.
Mr. Secretary, that's less.
Second, it's
than
$15
1%.
minimum wage. We jump
China
in and
and other
advocate for
countries
higher
are
right
closing
away
in fast.
and start laying
We
the
have to
groundwork
develop
there,
and dominate the products and technologies of the future. Advanced batteries, biotechnology, computer chips, clean energy. The Secretary of Defense can tell you, and those of you who work on national security issues know, the Defense Department has an agency called DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency. that people who set up before I came here, and that's been a long time ago, to develop breakthroughs that enhance our national security. That's their only job. And it's a semi-separate agency. It's under the Defense Department.
We should be cutting here.
It's led to everything from the discovery of the internet to GPS and so much more that's enhanced our security. The National Institute of Health, the NIH, I believe, should create a similar advanced research projects
listen, I'm all
agency
for the
health.
government taking up
And here's what it would do.
technological innovation.
It would have a
I
singular
mean, they created
purpose.
the internet. They created a lot of,
Develop
like you mentioned. But
breakthroughs
why do we have to?
prevent,
Why does it have to be
detect,
under
and treat
the
diseases like Alzheimer's,
military? Like
diabetes,
we should
and
not
cancer.
be. That should not
I'll
be
still never
the
forget
purpose
when we
of our technological breakthroughs that we decide are
Cancer
for the
proposal in the last year as vice
greater
president.
good. You know what I mean?
Almost
Just-
$9 million going to NIH. And they've excused the point of personal privilege. I'll never forget you standing, Mitch, and saying, name it after my deceased son. It meant a lot. But so many of us have deceased sons, daughters, and relatives who died of cancer. I can think of no more worthy investment. I know of nothing that is more bipartisan. So let's end cancer as we know it. It's within our power. It's within our power to do it. Investments in jobs and infrastructure like the ones we're talking about have often had bipartisan support in the past. Vice President Harris and I met regularly in the Oval Office with Democrats and Republicans and discussed the jobs plan. And I applaud a group of Republican senators who just put forward their own proposal. So let's get to work. I wanted to lay out before the Congress my plan before we got into the deep discussions. I'd like to meet with those who have ideas that are different, they think are better.
Froze again.
I welcome those ideas. But the rest of the world is not waiting for us.
All right, I gotta refresh. Give me a
I
second.
just want to be clear.
I switched from State Farm.
I'm gonna have
because
to
of
send a
this
bill to
site.
State Farm.
They had me paying
Free advertising on this show?
$163 a
Nuh-uh.
month.
Look,
Oh, there's Amy Klobuchar. There's Amy.
we can't be
Waving
so
her
busy
stapler in the
competing with
background.
one another that we forget the competition that we have with the rest of the world to win the 21st century. Secretary Blinken can tell you, I spent a lot of time with President Xi. Traveled over 17,000 miles with him. Spent, they tell me, over 24 hours in private discussions with him. When he called to congratulate him, we had a 2-hour discussion.
Ooh, they're gonna love this one on
He's
the right.
deadly earnest about becoming the most significant, consequential nation in the world.
They're gonna love that
You know
private
this.
conversation line on the right.
Autocrats think that democracy can't compete in the 21st century with autocracies because it takes too long to get consensus.
Babinska says, let me make this a little bit smaller here. All right.
To win that
Matt, I
competition
can't handle
for the
listening to this
future,
boring toilet paper
in
man
my
for
view,
long, but I wanted to say you do good
We
work,
also need
and
to
I
make
love
a
you.
once-in-a-generation
Oh, why,
investment
thank you, Babinska. I really
in
appreciate
our families
that.
and our children. That's why I've introduced the American Families Plan tonight, which addresses 4 of the biggest challenges facing American families and in turn America. First is access to good education. When this nation made 12 years of public education universal in the last century, it made us the best educated, best prepared nation in the world. It's, I believe, the overwhelming reason that propelled us to where we got in the 20th century. But the world's caught up or catching up. They're not waiting.
Sam says State Farm lady is
I would say
hot.
parenthetically,
Yes, State Farm lady
if
is
we were
attractive.
sitting down, we set a bipartisan committee together and said,
Joey
okay,
on Periscope says bring
we're
back
going to decide what we do in terms of government providing
bring
for
back
free
the State
education.
Farm lady. Well,
I wonder whether we'd think, as we did in
Maybe.
the 20th century,
we'll see how this goes.
that 12 years is enough in the 21st century. I doubt it. 12 years is no longer enough today to compete with the rest of the world in the 21st century. That's why my American Families Plan guarantees
P.S. Wright
4
says
additional
he's very
years of public
boring. I keep
education for
zoning
every
out.
person
It's
in
his real
America,
secret weapon. I
starting
mean,
as early as
honestly,
we
it
can.
is. I was reading how, the right
The great universities
is, I mean,
in
not
this
just
country
reading.
have
I
conducted
see it on the
studies
right, but
over
also
the
I
last
was
10 years
reading a
that shows that
piece
adding
where
2 years
they
of
got
universal
quotes.
high-quality preschool
And the right is
for
having
every
difficulty
3-year-old
going
and
after Joe
4-year-old,
Biden because
no matter
people
what background they come from,
just aren't that interested in him.
puts
So
them
they
in a
tune it
position to
out.
be
They
able to
think he's doing a
compete
good job because
all the
things
way
are coming
through 12
together, at
years.
least with the pandemic, which is probably the
and
number one
increases
thing on
exponentially
people's
their
minds right
prospect
now,
of graduating
and
and
jobs,
going on
which,
beyond
like he said.
graduation. Research shows when a young
It
child
is for sure
goes to
his-
school, not daycare,
His secret weapon.
they're far more likely to graduate from high school and go to college or something after high school. When you add 2 years of free community college on top of that, you begin to change the dynamic. We can do that. And we'll increase Pell Grants and invest in historical black colleges and universities, tribal colleges, minority-serving institutions. The reason is
almost missed these super chats here.
they
One
don't
second.
have the endowments. But their students are just as capable
David
of learning
says,
about
"Don't chant
cybersecurity,
jobs 5 times.
just as
say it
capable
one
of
time
learning
really
about
long.
metallurgy, all the things that are going on that provide those jobs of the future.
Jobs.
Jill is a community college professor who teaches today as First Lady. She's long said,
John, the Mighty Ducks guy, says, super chat. Quit milking my super chats, Binder.
she's long,
What was that? Can you explain that one to me again, John? I missed that.
if I've heard it once, I've heard it 1,000 times. Joe, any country that out-educates us is going to outcompete us. She'll be deeply involved in leading this effort. Thank you, Jill. Second thing we need, American Families Plan will provide access to quality, affordable child care. We guarantee
Oh, if you're watching, don't forget to hit the like button.
we're not proposing in
Subscribe
legislation.
to the
We
channel if you haven't
guarantee
already.
that low and middle income families will pay no more than 7% of their income for high quality care for children up to the age of 5. The most hard pressed working families
to that one.
won't have to spend a dime. Third, the American Families Plan will finally provide up to 12 weeks of paid leave and medical leave, family medical leave. We're one of the few industrial countries in the world. No one should have to choose between a job and a paycheck or taking care of themselves and their loved ones or parent or spouse or child. And fourth, the American Family Plan puts directly into the pockets of millions of Americans. In March, we expanded tax credit for every child in a family, up to $3,000 per child if you're under 6 years of age. Over 6 years of age, and $3,600 for children over 6 years of age. With 2 parents, 2 kids, that's $7,200 in the pockets that are going to help take care of your family. And that will help more than 65 million children and help cut child care poverty in half. And we can afford it.
I mean, listen, I think this stuff is good. I got 2 kids, so believe me.
We did that in the last piece of
But
legislation
they keep
we
saying
passed.
that. It seems.
Let's extend that child care tax
I need to
credit
look
at least
more into
through
that
the end
stat.
of 2025.
Because I've heard it over and over again. It just seems suspect to me. Because if you could cut child poverty in half
The
with
American
that
Rescue
amount,
Plan lowered health care
why not
premiums
just
for
double
9
it
million Americans
and eliminate it
who buy their
completely?
coverage under the Affordable Care Act. I know that's really popular this side of the aisle. But let's make that provision permanent so their premiums don't go back up.
Yeah, well,
In addition to my family's plan, I'm going to work with Congress to address this year other critical priorities for American families.
Healthcare?
The Affordable Care Act has
Healthcare
been a
for my
lifeline
family?
for millions of Americans, protecting people with pre-existing conditions, protecting women's health, and the pandemic has demonstrated how badly it's needed. Let's lower deductibles for working families on the Affordable Care Act. And let's lower prescription drug costs. We know how to do this. The last president had that as an objective. We all know how
shaking her head at
outrageously
lowering
expensive
prescription
drugs are in
drug
America.
costs.
In fact, we pay the
unless you're
highest
shaking our head
prescription drug
saying
prices
should be
of
free. Then
anywhere
I don't
in
know
the
what's
world,
going on
right
there.
here in America. Nearly 3 times for the same drug, nearly 3 times what other countries pay. We have to change that, and we can. Let's do what we talked about for all the years I was down here in this body, in Congress. Let's give Medicare the power to save hundreds of billions of dollars by negotiating lower drug prescription prices.
I mean, you know how you could do that really good? By Medicare for
By
all
the way,
and being the only option, and then you can
It won't
fucking lower it.
just help people on
Because you'll
Medicare.
say this is what we're paying.
Lower prescription drug costs for everyone. And the money we save, which is billions of dollars, can go to strengthen the Affordable Care Act and expand Medicare coverage benefits without costing taxpayers an additional penny. It's within our power to do it. Let's do it now.
I mean, this is the part where he says we
We've
take what
talked
we
about
currently
it
got
long
and we'll
enough.
make it slightly
Democrats and
better.
Republicans, let's get it done this year.
Which obviously is a good
this
step
is all
forward.
about a simple premise.
But none of it's
Healthcare
good.
should be
Period.
a right, not a privilege in America.
It can't be a right, not a privilege, if it's not provided to all.
So,
Access is not.
how do we pay for my job?
Access is a privilege.
I made it clear
Access does not give
we
someone
can do it without
the right
increasing
to
the
it.
deficits.
And
Let's
all we got
start
right now is access
with what
to
I will not do. I will not impose any tax increase on people making less than $400,000. But it's time for corporate America and the wealthiest 1% of Americans to just begin to pay their fair share. Just their fair share.
Mitt Romney don't like that. Mr. Bain Capital don't like
Sometimes
that
I have
one.
arguments with my friends in the Democratic Party. I think you should be able to become a billionaire and a millionaire, but pay your fair
No.
share.
No.
Recent studies
You should be able to
showed
become a billionaire, first of all.
55 of the
You want to
nation's
discuss
biggest
the millionaire
corporations
thing. It depends
paid
how many millions,
zero
perhaps.
federal
Perhaps.
tax last year. Those 55
But a
corporations
billionaire?
made in excess.
There should be no
of
billionaires,
$40
for
billion
sure,
in
100%.
A lot of companies also evade taxes through tax havens in Switzerland and Bermuda and the Cayman Islands. And they benefit from tax loopholes and deductions for offshoring jobs and shifting profits overseas. It's not right. We're going to reform corporate taxes so they pay their fair share and help pay for the public investments their businesses will benefit from as well. We're going to reward work, not just wealth.
Someone's phone?
We take the top tax bracket
You heard that?
for the wealthiest 1% of Americans.
Some's phone, a little
Those
jingle
making
going
over
on. back there.
$400,000 or more.
Biden noticed that he stopped
Back
for a
up to
second.
where it was when George W. Bush was president, when he started, 39.6%. That's where it was when George W. was president. We're going to get rid of the loopholes, allow Americans to make more than $1 million a year
Put one of these here, one second.
and pay a lower tax rate on their capital gains than Americans who receive a paycheck. We're only going to affect 0.3% of all Americans by that action, 0.3%. And the IRS is going to crack down on millionaires and billionaires who cheat on their taxes. It's estimated to be billions of dollars by think tanks that are left, right, and center. I'm not looking to punish anybody, but I will not add a tax burden, additional tax burden to the middle class in this country. They're already paying enough. I believe what I propose is fair, fiscally responsible, and it raises revenue to pay for the plans I propose and will create
Patreon
millions
text
of
there.
jobs that will grow the economy and enhance our financial standing in the country. When you hear someone say they don't want to raise taxes on the wealthiest 1% or corporate America, ask them, whose taxes you want to raise? Instead, who's they're going to cut?
Yeah, they'll say we're going to cut.
The big tax cut.
Those
of
people will say they're
2017.
going to cut the welfare
Remember, it was supposed to pay for itself.
expenses,
That was how it was
welfare
sold.
programs.
And generate vast
Going to cut
economic
anything
growth.
that doesn't directly benefit me.
Instead,
and then if you show me
It
something that
added
does without me
$2
realizing, then I
trillion
won't want to cut
to the
that.
deficit. It was a huge windfall for corporate America and those at the very top. Instead of using the tax saving to raise wages and invest in research and development, it poured billions of dollars into the pockets of CEOs. In fact, the pay gap between CEOs and their workers is now among the largest in history. According to one study, CEOs make 320 times what the average worker in their corporation makes. It used to be below 100. The pandemic has only made things worse. 20 million Americans lost their job in the pandemic, working and middle-class Americans. At the same time, roughly 650 billionaires in America saw their net worth increase by
Yeah.
more than $1 trillion.
That's
in the
what
same exact
happens
period.
when you have
Let me say it
billionaires.
again. 650
Joe,
people increased their wealth by more than $1 trillion during this
you
pandemic.
just said you believe
And
people
they're
have the
now
right
worth
to
more
become
than $4
billionaires.
trillion.
That's how they
My
become
fellow
billionaires.
Americans, trickle down. Trickle down economics has never worked. And it's time to grow the economy from the bottom and the middle out.
Bushiro says, masked up Kamala and Nancy looking like scuffed
You know,
Katana and Melina from
There's a
Mortal
broad
Kombat.
consensus of economists left, right, and center, and they agree what I'm proposing will help create millions of jobs and generate historic economic growth. These are among the highest values investments we can make as a nation. I've often said our greatest strength is the power of our example, not just the example of our power. In my conversations with world leaders, and I've spoken to over 38, 40 of them now, I've made it known that America's back. And you know what they say? The comment I hear most of all from them is they say, we see America's back, but for how long? But for how long?
Well,
My
at least
fellow
4
Americans-
years is what I tell them.
We have to show not just that we're back, but that we're back to stay. And that we aren't going to go it alone. We're going to do it by leading with our allies. No one nation can deal with all the crises of our time, from terrorism to nuclear proliferation, mass migration, cybersecurity, climate change, as well as what we're experiencing now, pandemics. There's no wall high enough to keep any virus out. And our own vaccine supply, as it grows, to meet our needs,
I mean, you really shouldn't bring up the wall, buddy.
and we're meeting them,
You're
will become an arsenal for vaccines
continuing with it.
for other countries, just as America is an arsenal for democracy for the world, and in consequence influence the world. But every American will have access before that occurs. Every American will have access to be fully covered by COVID-19 from the vaccines we have.
What?
Look,
Someone
the
he
climate
messed
crisis,
up that phrasing.
it's not
there.
our fight alone, it's a global fight. The United States accounts, as all of you know, less than 15% of carbon emissions.
Kowalski says, with
The
a
rest
super
of the
chat,
world
got
accounts
here
for
late. Are my
85%.
student loans canceled yet? Has he
That's
mentioned
why I kept
student
my
loans?
commitment to
Did I
rejoin
miss
the
that?
Paris Accord.
Was I
because
talking
if we do
over
everything
that?
perfectly, it's not going to only matter.
Did
I kept
Biden
my
mention
commitment to
student
convene a
loans?
climate summit right here in America with all the major economies of the world. China, Russia, India,
China.
European Union.
China.
I said I'd do it in my first 100 days. I want to be very blunt
I don't
about
miss
it.
that, but
I had
its absence is noticed.
attempt
China.
was to make sure that the world could see there was a consensus, that we are at an inflection point in history. The consensus is if we act to save the planet,
Surreal Chemist
we
over
can
on
create
Twitch
millions of jobs
says, I have access
and
to a
economic
Bugatti.
growth and opportunity
for real,
to
man?
raise
Could
the
you-
standard
could you
of
give
living
me
amongst
access to
everyone
that
around the
Bugatti
world.
too? Now, I'm not a car guy. I
If
could
you
really
watched
care
any
less
of it,
about a
you were all
Bugatti
busy.
or a
I'm sure you didn't have
Lamborghini or
much
anything like
time.
that.
That's what
But
virtually every
I get
nation
what you're
said, even
saying.
the ones that aren't doing their fair share. The investments I proposed tonight also advance the foreign policy, in my view, that benefits the middle class. That means making sure every nation plays by the same rules in the global economy, including China. In my discussion with President Xi, I told him, we welcome the competition. We're not looking for conflict. But I made absolutely clear that we will defend America's interest across the board. America will stand up to unfair trade practices that undercut American workers.
So he
and
didn't
American
mention
industries
student
like
loans based on
subsidies
these comments.
from state to
Robert
state-owned
says no
operations
student
and
loans
enterprises.
mentioned. Ryan says he ain't say
and the
shit about
theft
student
of
loans.
American technology and
Daniel,
intellectual
no, all
property.
he said was more Pell Grants
I also
and the
told
money
President
for
Xi
child
that we'll
care.
maintain a strong military presence in the Indo-Pacific, just as we do
Staying
with
away from
NATO
that
and
one,
Europe.
right? Doesn't
Not
wanna
to
touch
start
that
a
one.
conflict, but to prevent one. I told them what I've said to many world leaders, that America will not back
is
away
that?
from our commitments.
What is that thing in front
Our
of
commitment
Nancy
to human
Pelosi?
rights and fundamental freedoms and to our
What is that, like
alliance.
silver?
And I pointed out to him,
Is that like a water
No
cup
responsible
holder?
American
a glass
president
holder? What is that?
could remain silent when basic human rights are being so blatantly violated. An American president has to represent the essence of what our country stands for. America is an idea, the most unique idea in history. We are created, all of us equal.
Our means over on
It's
Twitch.
who we are.
Getting down
And we
to the
cannot
bottom
walk away from that principle.
of what's on Nancy Pelosi's
And in
desk.
fact,
it's a love letter
say
to Matt Binder.
We're
Better
dealing
be.
with the American idea. With regard to Russia, I know it concerns some of you, but I made very clear to Putin that we're not going to seek escalation, but their actions will have consequences. They turn out to be true, and they turned out to be true. So I responded directly and proportionately to Russia's interference in our elections and the cyber attacks on our government and our business. They did both of these things, and I told them we would respond, and we have. But we can also cooperate when it's our mutual interest. We did it when we extended the New
Andre,
START Treaty
with
on
another
nuclear
possibility,
arms,
what's on
and we're
Nancy
working to
Pelosi's
do it
desk?
on climate change.
An adrenochrome
But
flask.
he understands. We will respond. On Iran and North Korea, nuclear programs that present serious threats to American security and the security of the world. We're going to be working closely with our allies to address the threats posed by both of these countries through diplomacy as well as stern deterrence. And American leadership means ending the forever war in Afghanistan. We have
But I mean, it's been said before. I'll believe it when I
without
see it, right?
hyperbole, the greatest fighting force in the history of the world. I'm the first president in 40 years and knows what it means to have a son serving in a war zone. Today, we have service members serving in the same war zone as their parents did.
Refresh that because the
We have
video
service members
froze.
that
I gotta hold
I
on one
switched from
second.
State Farm
There's the
because
State Farm
of the
girl
site.
again.
They had me paying
But
$163
he said he's the first
a month.
president in 40 years to
we
know
went
what
to
it's like to have a
Afghanistan to
son.
get the
serve.
terrorists who attacked us on 9/11.
Sir, are you forgetting
And we said
Donald
we would
Trump's
follow
children?
Osama bin Laden to the gates of hell
Unbelievable.
to do it. If you've been in the upper Konar Valley, you've kind of seen the gates of hell. And we delivered justice to bin Laden. We degraded the terrorist threat of al-Qaeda in Afghanistan. And after 20 years of
Talk about Hunter's time
valor,
in the Navy,
and
Joe.
sacrifice, it's time to bring those troops home.
Mr. Saxon-Keat with a super chat. Appreciate you, Matt. I love those super chats because they just make me feel
Even as
like
we
I
do, we'll
am,
maintain over-the-horizon capacity to
Really,
suppress
honestly.
future threats to the homeland. And make no mistake, in 20 years, terrorism has metastasized. The threat has evolved way beyond Afghanistan. Those of you in the intelligence committees, the foreign relations committee, defense committees, you know well we have to remain vigilant against the threats to the United States wherever they come from. Al-Qaeda and ISIS are in Yemen, Syria, Somalia, other places in Africa, in the Middle East, and beyond. And we won't ignore what our intelligence agencies have determined to be the most lethal terrorist threat to the homeland today. White supremacy is terrorism. We're not going to ignore that either. My fellow Americans, look, we have to come together.
I don't want to
heal the soul of this
We
nation.
shouldn't. No.
It was nearly a year ago
mean,
before her father's funeral
I agree in a sense,
when I spoke
but
with Gianna Floyd.
he's talking
George
about
Floyd's
dealing
young
with
daughter.
it like America
She's a
deals
little
with
tight, so I
terrorism,
was kneeling
like
down to
foreign
talk to her.
terrorism.
So I could see
That
look her in
I'm
the eye.
not. No.
She looked at me, she said, "My daddy changed the world." Well, after the conviction of George Floyd's murderer, we can see how right she was if we have the courage to act as a Congress. We've all seen the knee of injustice on the neck of Black Americans. Now's our opportunity to make some real progress. The vast majority of men and women wearing a uniform and a badge serve our communities, and they serve them honorably. I know them. I know they want.
I mean, listen. I had a guy call into the last episode of the show on Thursday, and
I know.
he seems like a
They want to help meet this moment as well.
down-to-earth
My
guy.
fellow Americans,
He said he was a
We
Bernie
have to
supporter,
come
donated to
together.
Bernie, but he was a
to
cop.
rebuild trust between law enforcement and
And
the
we
people
had
they
some
serve.
disagreements. Let's put it
To
that
root
way.
out
You can go
systemic
listen to
racism in our
that
criminal justice system.
discussion
and
we
to
had.
enact
It
police
was a
reform
caller.
in George Floyd's name.
I appreciate him
It passed
calling
the
in.
House already.
I always encourage anyone with
Republicans have
differing
their own
views to
ideas
call into my
and are
show.
engaged in a very
So I
productive
definitely
discussions with
appreciate that
Democrats in
and
the Senate.
respect that he
We need to work together to find a
engaged for
consensus.
sure.
But,
But
let's
we
get
had
it
some
done
real
next
disagreements on
month. By
the
the
shootings.
first anniversary of
The
George
recent
Floyd's death.
spat of police shootings.
The country supports this reform, and Congress should act. We have a giant opportunity to bend the arc of the moral universe toward justice, real justice. And with the plans outlined tonight, we have a real chance to root out systemic racism that
Kushiro
plagues
on
America,
YouTube says, "Wow, we got the
American
only
lives in
bad
other
cop in the
ways.
world, right?
A
Right?
chance to deliver
I mean,
real equity. Good jobs, good schools, affordable housing, clean air, clean water, being able to generate wealth and pass it down through generations because you have an access to purchase a house. Real opportunities.
Sean says,
in
"Hey,
the lives of more
Binder."
Americans,
Oh, they
black,
pull it
white,
up.
Latino, Asian Americans, Native
Lauren
Americans.
Boebert is live tweeting this. Pull it up.
Look,
Let's see what we got
I
here.
also want to thank the United States Senate for voting 94-1 to pass the COVID-19 Hate Crimes Act to protect Asian American and Pacific Islanders. You acted decisively.
She's not. Oh, I'm on her.
You can see on
other-
television the viciousness of the hate crimes we've seen over the past year, and for too long. I urge the
Here it
House to
is.
do the same and send that legislation to my desk, which I will gladly, anxiously sign.
Oh boy, she's
I also hope Congress
she's
will get
really
to my
tweeting
desk
like every minute.
the
I don't think
Equality
it's her though.
Act
We
to
saw her in
protect
the crowd. She's not
LGBTQ
tweeting.
Americans.
She's
For all
not tweeting.
transgender Americans watching at home, especially young people, you're so brave. I want you to know your president has your back. Another thing, let's authorize the
But this
Violence
is-
Against Women Act, which
This
has
is the
been
type
law
of
for
shit
27 years.
She's tweeting.
27 years ago, I wrote it.
You know how we were complaining about what Joe
We'll
Biden
close
said about the
act
cops?
that has to be authorized now. We'll close the boyfriend
It was
loophole.
too extreme
To keep
for
guns
Lauren
out of the
Boebert,
hands
who
of
just tweeted
abusers. The
this.
court order said this is an abuser. You can't own a gun.
Unbelievable.
It's to
But not
close that
unbelievable at
loophole
all.
that existed. You know, it's estimated that 50 women are shot and killed by an intimate partner every month in America. 50 a month. Let's pass it.
Wonder how many of those are
Save some
cops
lives.
who are doing that.
And I need not tell anyone this, but gun violence has become an epidemic in America. What? The flag at the White House was still flying at half-mast for the 8 victims of the mass shooting in Georgia, when 10 more lives were taken in the mass shooting in Colorado. And in the week in between those two events, 250 other Americans were shot dead in the streets of America. 250 shot dead. I know how hard it is to make progress on this issue. In the 90s, we passed universal background checks, a ban on assault weapons and high-capacity magazines that hold 100 rounds that can be fired off in seconds. We beat the NRA. Mass shootings and gun violence declined. Check out the report over 10 years. But in the early 2000s, the law expired. We've seen daily bloodshed since. I'm not saying if the law continued, we wouldn't see bloodshed. More than 2 weeks ago in the Rose Garden, surrounded by some of the bravest people I know, the survivors and families who lost loved ones to gun violence, I laid out several of the Department of Justice actions that are being taken to impact on this epidemic. One of them is banning so-called ghost guns. These are homemade guns built from a kit that includes directions how to finish the firearm. The parts have no serial numbers, so they show up at crime scenes and they can't be traced. The buyers of these ghost gun kits aren't required to pass any background check. Anyone, from a criminal or terrorist, could buy this kit and within 30 minutes have a weapon that's lethal, but no more. And I'll do everything in my power to protect the American people from this epidemic of gun violence, but it's time for Congress to act as well. Look,
Oh, and Ted Cruz with that. Oh, boy.
I don't want to become confrontational, but we need more Senate Republicans to join the overwhelming majority of Democratic colleagues and close the loopholes required in background check purchases of guns. We need a ban on assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. And don't tell me it can't be done. We did it before and it worked. Talk to most responsible gun owners and hunters. They'll tell you there's no possible justification for having 100 rounds in a weapon. What do you think, deer wearing Kevlar vests?
Was that Joe Manchin nodding yes to that?
They'll tell you that there are too many people today who are able to buy a gun but shouldn't be able to buy a gun. These kinds of reasonable reforms have overwhelming support from the American people, including many gun owners. The country supports reform and Congress should act. This shouldn't be a red or blue issue. And no amendment to the Constitution is absolute. You can't yell fire in a crowded theater. From the very beginning, there were certain guns, weapons, that could not be owned by Americans. Certain people could not own those weapons ever. We're not changing the Constitution.
Oh, my God. Look at
We're
this
being
tweet.
reasonable.
This is fantastic.
I think this is not a Democrat or Republican issue. I think it's an American issue. And here's what else we can do. Immigration has always been essential to America. Let's end our exhausting war over immigration. For more than 30 years, politicians have talked about immigration reform, and we've done nothing about it. It's time to fix it. On day one of my presidency, I kept my
Such
commitment
a
to send a
good
comprehensive
tweet.
immigration bill to the
Oh
United
my
States
God.
Congress.
So
If you believe we need
Matt
to secure
Schlapp,
the border, pass it because it has a lot
the
of
head
money for
of
high-tech border
CPAC,
security.
the Conservative
If you believe in
Political
a pathway
Action
to
Committee,
citizenship, pass it.
who runs
Over
the
11
big
million
Conservative
undocumented
Political
folks,
Action
the vast
Conference,
majority of here overstaying visas.
just tweeted
Pass it.
this.
We can actually, if you actually want to solve a problem, I've sent a bill to take
I
a
have
close
lead
look at
pipes
it.
in my 100-year-old house.
We have to also
Some
have
are
to get at the
impossible
root
to
problem
take
of
out.
why people are fleeing,
Joe Biden
particularly
is going to
our
replace
southern
them.
border from
Cool.
Guatemala, Honduras, and
Oh
El
my
Salvador.
God.
The violence, the corruption,
What
the gangs, the
an-
political instability, hunger, hurricanes,
What
earthquakes,
an own goal. What a
natural
self-own.
disasters.
Buddy explains
When
a
I was
lot that
president,
you've been apparently for
my
the past,
president,
I don't know
when
how
was
old
vice
you are, but
president,
however long
president
you've
asked me
lived
to
there,
focus on providing help
have
needed
been
to address
suffering
the
from
root
lead
causes
poisoning.
of migration.
You probably should have replaced them long
And
ago.
to help keep people in their own countries instead of being forced to
Christ,
leave.
man.
The plan was working, but the last administration decided it was not worth it. I'm restoring the program and asked Vice President Harris to lead our diplomatic effort to take care of this. I have absolute confidence she'll get the job done. Now look, if you don't like my plan, let's at least pass what we all agree on. Congress needs to pass legislation this year to finally secure protection for dreamers. The young people who only know
Well, why is
America
Joe
as their
Biden
home.
acting like Republicans support the Dreamers? Like that's something they
And
could agree on.
permanent protection for immigrants who are here on temporary protective status who came from countries beset by man-made and natural-made violence and disaster, as well as a pathway to citizenship for farm workers who put food on our tables. Look, immigrants have done so much for America during this pandemic and throughout our history. The country supports immigration reform. We should act. Let's argue over it. Let's debate it. But let's act. And if we truly want to restore the soul of America, we need to protect the sacred right to vote. Most people,
Like, that's all he's talking about. Immigration? That's it? He's moving on from that? All right.
more people voted in the last presidential election than any time in American history, in the middle of the worst pandemic ever. It should be celebrated. Instead, it's being attacked. Congress should pass H.R. 1 and the John Lewis Voting Rights Act and send it to my desk right away.
Oh, okay. He's talking about voting. I
The
got
country supports it,
Sound like you said work.
and Congress should act now.
Sound like you said more people worked during the pandemic. And that should be
Look,
something
in conclusion,
celebrated.
as we gather
What?
here tonight,
But I
images
guess
of a
he
violent
misspoke
mob
or I
assaulting
misheard
this
him.
Capitol,
Did
desecrating
anyone else
our
hear that?
democracy, remain vivid in all our minds. Lives were put at risk, many of your lives. Lives were lost. Extraordinary courage was summoned. The insurrection was an existential crisis, a test of whether our democracy could survive, and it did. But the struggle is far from over. The question of whether our democracy will long endure is both ancient and urgent. As old as our republic, still vital today. Can our democracy deliver on its promise that all of us, created equal in the image of God, had a chance to lead lives of dignity, respect, and possibility? Can our democracy deliver to the most pressing needs of our people? Can our democracy overcome the lies, anger, hate, and fears that have pulled us apart? America's adversaries, the autocrats of the world, are betting we can't. And I promise you, they're betting we can't. They believe we're too full of anger and division and rage. They look at the images of the mob that assaulted the Capitol as proof that the sun is setting on American democracy. But they're wrong. You know it, I know it. But we have to prove them wrong. We have to prove democracy still works, that our government still works, and we can deliver for our people. In our first 100 days together, we've acted to restore people's faith in democracy to deliver. We're vaccinating the nation. We're creating hundreds of thousands of new jobs. We're delivering real results to people. They can see it, feel it in their own lives. Opening doors of opportunity, guaranteeing some more fairness and justice. That's the essence of America. That's democracy in action. Our Constitution opens with the words, as trite as it sounds, we the people. Well, it's time to remember that we the people are the government, you and I, not some force in a distant capital, not some powerful force that we have no control over. It's us. It's we the people. In another era, when our democracy was tested, Franklin Roosevelt reminded us, in America, we do our part. We all do our part. That's all I'm asking, that we do our part, all of us. And if we do that,
He's losing me now because I
we will
think
meet
he's
the center challenge of the
losing it
age
a
by
bit, too.
proving that democracy is durable and strong. Autocrats will not win the future. We will. America will. And the future belongs to America. As I stand here tonight before you in a new and vital hour of life and democracy of our nation, and I can say with absolute confidence, I have never been more confident or optimistic about America. Not because I'm president, because of what's happening with the American people. We've stared into the abyss of insurrection and autocracy, pandemic and pain, and we, the people, did not flinch. At the very moment our adversaries were certain we'd pull apart and fail, we came together, we united. With light and hope, we summoned a new strength, new resolve to position us to win the competition of the 21st century. On our way to a union more perfect,
He's
more
acting like
prosperous, and more just. As one people,
all those things are behind us,
one
and they're
nation,
just not.
and one America. Folks, as I told every world leader I've ever met with over the years, it's never, ever, ever been a good bet to bet against America, and it
I
still
noticed that,
isn't.
Joey. Really funny.
We're the United States of America. There's not a
LMFAO,
single thing,
he says, we the people must enforce
nothing
the
beyond our
distance and the
capacity.
accountability cuts to the words,
We
and you
can
gotta
do
be
whatever
trusted
we
by
set
them.
our mind to if we do it together. So let's begin to get together. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. Thank you for your patience.
What? The troops line. Where did you throw that in? Isn't it usually God bless you all and God bless the United States of America?
Thank you.
All right. Well, there's going to be responses, right? There's going to be some responses to the address to Congress, right? Well, people who are asking, this show is brought to you by this soda I found in the back of my fridge that I bought actually a few years ago. It's actually quite delicious. It's Saranac brand Shirley Temple. That's right, I am drinking Shirley Temple, and it's delish. I saw a number of people asking, actually, because I guess on the stream, it looks like some amazing red drink, and I wonder if people thought I was drinking, like, some alky or something. Me, never. Never. And I guess my dad, yes, good old Binder dad, caught that in the beginning of the show. Because my dad dropped a super chat and said, replace my grandson's Shirley Temple. Got news for you, Pops. I bought that Shirley Temple. Oh, wait, there's Bernie. What's going on here? What's going on here? Oh, someone asked who's the purple-haired lady. What's her name? She's a congresswoman from Connecticut. She's Rep Rosa DeLauro. I don't know what that whole conversation was about, but it looked very intense, didn't it? Between Biden, DeLauro, and Bernie. Joe, that was a terrible speech, let me tell you. Just want you to know that, Joe. Horrible. I would have done so much better, Joe. My speech would have been huge. It's pretty good, actually. The Todd's Bread says, Bernie, where can I get my ticket validated, Joe? Where can I get my ticket validated, Joe? Trying here. I'm trying to do a Bernie. We got some responses coming, right? We got Frozen in. All right, got to see the Allstate lady again, right? Let's see what's going on here. Not bad. It only froze 1 or 2 times during the stream. So let me ask you guys, because I mentioned up top, while we wait for the responses, I was testing out a new setup here for the stream, some new equipment on my end, some new source that everything's going through. How did everything sound and look? Was everything synced up? I do have to say I'm pleasantly surprised with how smooth the stream ran. Now, I know I just mentioned the 2 times it stopped, but I mean, I'm just basically doing a screen share because it's a live feed, and it's usually screen shares aren't this smooth, but it's like you're watching a video, like a pre-recorded, downloaded video without any lag, right? Have you guys noticed that on your end too? That the video we're watching along with me is all synced up and nothing's lagging? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe just my end. Let me know. Serial Chemist asks, "Are you using Ecamm?" That's from Serial Chemist watching on Twitch. Yes, I am using Ecamm. Oh yeah, let me do a. Aaron says, "Maddie, recap, you drunk bastard." Oh, let me give you guys a recap of what's going on. We're waiting for Joe Biden to leave this room here, and then I'm assuming there's going to be some responses. I believe there's a Republican response and then a response from the progressive wing of the Democratic Party. Is Jamal Bowman doing the response? I swear I saw something like that, right? Is Jamal Bowman doing the response? Anyway, while we wait, patreon.com/MattBinder to support what I do. If you could become a monthly subscriber, funding basically the daily. I wish it was daily. One day maybe daily once we get enough patrons. But if you can become a monthly subscriber and help fund the weekly live stream show, Doomed with Matt Binder, that comes with the long form interview or topic on the first half of the show, and then on the Patreon half of the show we take calls over Skype, questions, comments, other stories in the news. If you could help and support that. And then also I'm working on more YouTube original investigations like the Boogaloo Boy video I did. I've already hinted at you guys that I'm going to do a like a short form podcast to get some more news out there that I can't always cover on the long form show. I'm working on a few pieces for the newsletter, which I will be relaunching shortly. I'm already working on the pieces. I know I said it was going to be coming out soon, but will be out soon. So yeah, if you could, if you have the extra funds and like what I do and can support any of it, go to patreon.com/MattBinder and subscribe. It's only I'm only asking $5 a month. That's the suggested price. You can give a little bit more, you give a little bit less, whatever you'd like. People have been asking me to roll out subscriptions on other platforms like YouTube and Apple Podcasts and Spotify are rolling out subscriptions soon. I think I'm just going to sign up for them all. And wherever it's more convenient for you to subscribe, do that, I guess. But for now, patreon.com/MattBinder is the best place to do it. And the only place to do it. What else? If you're in the YouTube chat, click that subscribe button. Or you can give a one-off donation, too, if you'd like. What's going on here? Did the QAnon shaman enter the room and get back in there? Oh, wait, what? Bowman's already doing the response. What? Someone said Now This News is streaming it? What?
Pursuant to Section 11B of
What's going on here? Where is it? Where is it? I put a response and it's like some crazy ass shit. Where is it? It's got to be here somewhere. Oh, the Tim Scott response? What's going on here? What is that? What the hell? Come on, where is it? Oh my God, I'm not used to a non laptop keyboard anymore. Okay, so Tim Scott hasn't gone yet. I guess Tim Scott's doing it. Is Jamal Bowman on right now? I don't see him. Where do you see it? You sure he's on right now? Do I dare check back in on the Tim Scott one? What the hell? What is going on? Yeah, I know you said Now This News. I know someone said Now This News. And I went to Now This News. I'm there right now. Oh, okay, there we go. Just showed up.
Wall Street.
Here we go.
The proposals that President Biden has put forward over the last few weeks would represent important steps, but don't go as big as we truly need in order to solve the crises of jobs, climate, and care. We need to think bigger, because now is the time to address the burning crisis of structural racism in our country. Every single time I have to watch a video of a black man or a brown kid die at the hands of police violence, a little piece of me dies too. I am connected to every black man in America. Like them, my ancestors were kidnapped from Africa, robbed of their language, and stripped of their culture, religion, and God. And we continue to be redlined and killed by the police. I have one message for law enforcement. Stop killing us. I need for President Biden to say the same thing.
This is what we
Black people are not for target practice. We are simply trying to survive in the world stacked against us. The nation will never be truly free if we continue to
The energy,
incarcerate more
too.
people than anywhere else in the world. And as long as we invest more in jails, war, and police than we do in jobs, school, and children, we need to end qualified immunity for police, and we need to pass Ayanna Presley's People Justice Guarantee, because all we are asking for is accountability. Whether you're a clerk, a teacher, or a member of Congress, you should be held accountable for your actions. Police cannot be above the law. But also, let us finally step back and have honest conversations about race and racism in this country. Because it's not just police. It's housing discrimination and wage theft and black maternal mortality. It's environmental injustice and all of the ways racism is built into the very fabric of America. More than anything, America needs a process of truth and collective healing. We have to be honest with ourselves about the ugliness of our history and the discrimination that persists. Only then will we meet the ideals of our democracy and get one step closer to realizing the American experiment. One way to do this is passing H.R. 40, championed by the late John Conyers and the relentless Sheila Jackson Lee. Let's study the need to repair the harms of our history. Only then will we all be truly free. We are in this moment because of you, because of organizers across the country demanding progressive change. The same organizers that put President Biden in the White House and won Georgia for Democrats. But we can't stop, and we won't stop until we are all truly free to thrive and make the world a better place, one in which all of us can thrive together. But we need your help, from the abolitionists to the suffrage movement to the lunch counter sit-ins. Visionary Americans like you have always helped bend the arc towards justice. We need all who believe in a multiracial democracy and are ready to move forward together in love to become a part of our movement. Join us. Help us build a better world. It's as simple as texting "Go Big" to 30403. Thank you. Peace and love to you and your family.
He's really good. Full disclosure, I worked with the campaign on a short video back when he was running. That was fantastic. He's really great. I don't get anyone who I don't get people who don't. I don't think people are sleeping on him, honestly. What did I miss, by the way? That thing was so good. That speech was so good. I want to see what we missed here while we wait for the Republican response. Where is it? Here we go. Let's. It's not gonna play, it seems. Oh, here we go.
Good evening. I'm Jamal Bowman, a member of Congress representing New York's 16th District. It is my honor to speak on behalf of the Working Families Party this evening. The Working Families Party is the party of unions and working people across the country. And tonight, I'm delivering our response to President Biden's address to Congress. We are emerging from the catastrophic failures of the Trump administration, where hundreds of thousands died because of Donald Trump and tens of millions lost their jobs. We now have a president and a White House capable of leading our nation out of the pandemic. Shots are going into arms, COVID infections, hospitalizations, and deaths are all down nationwide. And we are investing historic levels of stimulus to ensure people have more money in their pockets.
Oh, the Republican
Perhaps what I'm
we can
most
always
proud
come back
of.
and watch this because this is we're now watching it over again because we missed the beginning. But let's catch the Republican response live.
But for months, too many churches were shut down. Most of all,
Whoops.
I'm saddened that millions of kids have lost a year of learning when they could not afford to lose a single day. Locking vulnerable kids out of the classroom is locking adults out of their future. Our public schools should have reopened months ago. Other countries did. Private and religious schools did.
Other countries did because they dealt with the pandemic correctly.
The schools are safe.
Your party,
powerful
your
grown-ups
Republicans,
set science
your
aside.
extremists, your base.
And kids
You're
like me
the reason why we
were left
weren't
behind.
able to open up the schools.
The clearest case I've seen for school choice in our lifetimes because we know that education is the closest thing to magic in America. Last year, under Republican leadership, we passed 5 bipartisan COVID packages. Congress supported our schools, our hospitals, saved our economy, and funded Operation Warp Speed, delivering vaccines in record time. All 5 bills got 90 votes in the Senate. Common sense found common ground. In February, Republicans told President Biden we wanted to keep working together to finish this fight. But Democrats wanted to go it alone. They spent almost $2 trillion on a partisan bill that the White House bragged was the most liberal
People
bill in
love
American history.
that bill because they love
Only
the money they
1%
got.
went to vaccinations, no requirement to reopen schools
Bipartisan. It was
COVID
bipartisan
brought
when it comes
Congress
to the way
together
that the American
5
people felt
times.
about that bill.
This administration pushed us apart.
This
Another issue
administration
that
pushed
should
us
unite
apart.
us
Oh my
is
God! I'm
infrastructure.
already
Republicans
fuming
support
here. Already
everything
fuming
you
here.
think of when you think of infrastructure: roads, bridges, ports, airports, waterways, high-speed broadband. We're in for all of that. But again, Democrats want a partisan wish list. They won't even build bridges to build bridges. Less than 6% of the president's plan goes to roads and bridges. It's a liberal wish list of big government waste, plus the biggest job-killing tax hikes in a generation. Experts say when all is said and done, it would lower wages of the average American worker and shrink our economy. Tonight, we also heard about a so-called family plan, even more taxing, even more spending, to put Washington even more in the middle of your life from the cradle to college. The beauty of the American dream is that families get to define it for themselves. We should be expanding opportunities and options for all families, not throwing money at certain issues because Democrats think they know best. Infrastructure spending that shrinks our economy is not common sense. Weakening our southern borders and creating a crisis is not compassionate. The president is also abandoning principles he's held for decades. Now he says your tax dollars should fund abortions. He's laying groundwork to pack the Supreme Court. This is not common ground.
I'm like literally, I'm trying to think where to.
Nowhere.
Whoa, what
do
happened
we need
there?
common ground more desperately
Was that a dramatic
than in our
pause?
discussions of race. I have experienced the pain of discrimination. I know what it feels like to be pulled over for no reason, to be followed around the store while I'm shopping. I remember every morning at the kitchen table, my grandfather would open the newspaper and read it, I thought. But later I realized he had never learned to read it. He just wanted to set the right example. I've also experienced a different kind of intolerance. I get called Uncle Tom and the N-word by progressives, by liberals. Just last week, a national newspaper suggested my family's poverty was actually privilege because a relative owned land generations before my time. Believe me, I know firsthand our healing is not finished. In 2015, after the shooting of Walter Scott, I wrote a bill to fund body cameras. Last year, after the deaths of Breonna Taylor and George Floyd, I built an even bigger police reform proposal. But my Democratic colleagues blocked it. I extended an olive branch. I offered amendments.
His
but
reform
Democrats
proposal
used a
was
filibuster.
I remember
to
it. It was
block
bad.
the debate from even happening. My friends across the aisle seemed to want the issue more than they wanted a solution. But I'm still working. I'm hopeful that this will be different. When America comes together, we've made tremendous progress, but powerful forces want to pull us apart. 100 years ago, kids in classrooms were taught the color of their skin was their most important characteristic. And if they looked a certain way, they were inferior. Today, kids are being taught that the color of their skin defines them again. And if they look a certain way, they're an oppressor. From colleges to corporations to our culture, people are making money and gaining power by pretending we haven't made any progress at all, by doubling down on the divisions we've worked so hard to heal. You know this stuff is wrong. Hear me clearly. America is not a racist country. It's backwards to fight discrimination with different types of discrimination. And it's wrong to try to use our painful past to dishonestly shut down debates in the present. I'm an African American who has voted in the South my entire life. I take voting rights personally. Republicans support making it easier to vote and harder to cheat, and so do the voters. Big majorities of Americans support early voting,
my God.
and big majorities support voter ID, including African Americans and Hispanics. Common sense makes common ground. But today, this conversation has collapsed. The state of Georgia passed a law that expands early voting, preserves no excuse mail-in voting, and despite what the president claimed, did not reduce election day hours. If you actually read this law, it's mainstream. It will be easier to vote early in Georgia than in Democrat-run New York. But the left doesn't want you to know that. They want people virtue signaling by yelling about a law they haven't even read. Fact checkers have called out the White House for
In your response, you're going to say virtue signaling? What are
The
you?
president absurdly claims that this is worse than Jim Crow.
A shit poster on Twitter?
What is going on here? I'll tell you, a Washington power grab. This misplaced outrage is supposed to justify Democrats' new sweeping bill that would take over elections for all 50 states. It would send public funds to political campaigns you disagree with and make the bipartisan Federal Elections Commission partisan. This is not about civil rights or our racial past. It's about rigging elections in the future. And no, the same filibuster that President Obama and President Biden praised when they were senators, the same filibuster that the Democrats used to kill my police reform bill last year, has not suddenly become a racist relic just because the shoe is now on the other foot. Race is not a political weapon to settle every issue the way one side wants. It's far too important. This should be a joyful springtime for our nation.
What a
This
segue
administration
there.
inherited a tide that had already turned. The coronavirus is on the run. Thanks to Operation Warp Speed and the Trump administration,
No, not
our
thanks
country
to
is
the
flooded
Trump
with
administration
safe
at all.
and effective
Are you kidding?
vaccines. Thanks to our bipartisan work last year, job openings are rebounding. So why do we feel so divided? Anxious. A nation with so much cause for hope should not feel so heavy laden. A president who promised to
This
bring
guy's
us
got really
together
weird
should not be pushing
dramatic
agendas
pauses. Just bizarre.
tear us apart. The American family deserves better, and we know what better looks like. Just before COVID, we had the most inclusive economy in my lifetime, the lowest unemployment rates ever recorded for African Americans, Hispanics, and Asians, and a 70-year low nearly for women. Wages were growing faster at the bottom than at the top. The bottom 25% saw their wages go up faster than the top 25%. That happened because Republicans focused on expanding opportunity for all Americans. In addition to that, we passed opportunity zones, criminal justice reform, and permanent funding for historically black colleges and universities for the first time ever. We fought the drug epidemic, rebuilt our military, and cut taxes for working families and single moms like the one that raised me. Our best future will not come from Washington schemes or socialist dreams. It will come from you, the American people, black, Hispanic, white, and Asian, Republican and Democrat, brave police officers in black neighborhoods. We are not adversaries. We are family. We are all in this together, and we get to live in the greatest country on earth. The country where my grandfather in his 94 years saw his family go from cotton to Congress in one lifetime. So I am more than hopeful. I am confident that our finest hour is yet to come. Original sin is never the end of the story, not in our souls and not for our nation. The real story is always redemption. I am standing here because my mom has prayed me through some really tough times. I believe our nation has succeeded the same way because generations of Americans in their own ways have asked for grace and God has supplied it. So I will close with a word from a worship song that really helped me through this past year of COVID. The music is new, but the words draw from Scripture. May the Lord bless you and keep you, make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May his presence go before you and behind you and beside you. In your weeping and your rejoicing, he is for you. May his favor be upon our nation for 1,000 generations, and your family and your children and their children. Good night, and God bless.
Good
the United
night.
States of America.
What an absolute bizarre. This event has concluded. With that face. Oh, man. Well, I think hands down we can say that without a shadow of a doubt, Tim Scott's speech was even worse than. No, it was definitely worse than Joe Biden's, but even more boring. Like, at least Biden has. General, even Sleepy Joe.
Mr. President,
let me shut this
ladies
off.
and
What the
gentlemen,
hell is this?
history
What's
is
going
more
on
than...
here? Nope. Even Sleepy Joe. Sleepy Joe. Was a little bit more. I'm trying to say this without giving Biden credit, but putting in the proper context how bad Tim Scott was. Biden meant it a lot more than Tim Scott meant it. Tim Scott was just, my God. I mean, besides maybe that section on race, because obviously he is a black man. But even then, I mean, Christ. When we tuned in, he was already going on about opening up schools and how we should have done it like other countries and why didn't we? It was a failure and then giving Trump props for Operation Warp Speed. The Trump administration did not have any plan once the vaccines were created. The Biden administration had to come in and completely formulate the first of all, getting the vaccines, purchasing the vaccines, distributing the vaccines. There was zero plan from the Trump administration on any of that. It was really, Bob Carmody points. I don't know why I said your full name, Bob. I'm sorry if you don't want me saying your full name, but it's too late now. Bob says Joe was super policy focused. You're right. I mean, say what you will about Joe Biden's speech. It was certainly much better than Tim Scott's, who decided to throw out like shit poster language, like virtue signaling. And what was he going on about again? I had something that I specifically wanted to mention, and I'm having a mental block right now. But it was just bad. And those weird dramatic pauses, what was up with that? It was so unnatural, too. But hands down, the best speech of the night, not even close. Jamal Bowman, my God, killed it. That was great. That was really, 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 really great. Bowman was really good. So yeah, folks. I believe. Well, first of all, let me make sure I read all the super chats here. Give me 1 second. Ow. Zach Attack. With a $5 super chat. Thank you, my friend. Great convo with the lefty cop. Even with the disagreements, that was the first. That was a first. Can't recall a cop ever calling into a left-wing show. Hope he calls back. Well, thank you. Wait, thank you. I hope I tried to handle it well. I mean, he called into the show. I obviously wanted to have a conversation with him, so I wasn't gonna just straight up go at the guy. So we needed to have a civil conversation where I could still properly voice my disagreements, and I think I pulled it off. Thank you for the kind words. Jay with the super chat. Thank you. No comment. Just wanted to give me a super chat. Thank you, my friend. Renee says with a super chat, join the Patreon and accompany Dark Gritty to watch the world end. Better coverage than Nero without any liar applying. Why, thank you, Renee. I like that. Tyler with the super chat says, love these Thursday nights. Thank you, Matt. Well, today is Wednesday night. And we'll have a show for you tomorrow, too, the regular Thursday night show. This was a live stream, and tomorrow will be the podcast live stream show, the one that this is not going up as a podcast. This was just for live stream. These live event shows don't really make for good podcasts, in my opinion, because I want to provide commentary, but B, I don't want to just talk over too much. So I try to find a middle ground. I still think I could probably interject a bit more. But I remember from my time on the Majority Report when we would do the live debates, cover the presidential debates and stuff. I remember people would complain when we talk too much. So I don't know. Maybe I should talk a little bit more. Maybe people want me to shut up. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Renee with another super chat says, prefer the speech at the end of The Great Dictator when it comes to Tim Scott. Right. That was... Kowalski says with a super chat, Tim Scott is right. Alu Akbar. I missed what he said there that you're referring to, though. The funny thing is, I paid attention to Biden's full speech. Tim Scott was, I was just like, my mind was going numb trying to keep up with the ridiculousness. More with a super chat says, half of his response is, why Democrats don't listen to us. Thank you for reminding me what I want to talk about. The Republicans are constantly bringing this up. But Joe Biden said he'd be bipartisan. Oh, what's this? All the Republicans voted against. If you look at the majority of what Joe Biden's been doing, in terms of actual bills getting passed and policies, when you look at the polls that come out from American people, the vast majority of this country agrees with it. And a decent percentage of Republicans, too. I think if it's not the majority for certain things, and sometimes it is, it's something like 49, 45, 48%, somewhere around there. So, and then independents, it's usually between something like 60 and 75%. And with Dems, obviously, it's 80, 90%. No, it's not even 80. It's 90+%. I mean, that's as bipartisan as you're going to get. It's pretty, that's pretty damn bipartisan, especially nowadays. So when they say Joe Biden said he'd be more bipartisan, they meant Joe Biden said he wanted to work with us. And from our experience working with the Obama administration back in the day, that means we expect you guys to capitulate to us completely. And when you don't, that means you're not working together. Regardless of what the American people are saying, what the average voter is saying, the Republican members of Congress don't agree with you, so that means you're not being bipartisan. That's the gist there for anyone who isn't aware. I'm gonna give myself one of these. That was my speech. You know, Biden got the applause. I get a little applause too. You might hear my cat in the background. I don't know what's going on with him right now. I think that's the show. Kowalski says, in the words of the late great Michael Brooks, the long arc of history bends towards Sharia. Yes, man, I think of him every day. It still makes me, still can't believe it. But thank you for bringing that up because that's one of my fave things he would say. All right, folks. Oh, Ryan asks, who's on tomorrow, Matt? They're not 100% confirmed yet, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to have them. So I will let you know tomorrow. I will be on the Majority Port tomorrow for the fun half. As usual, it's Thursday. You know I'm on the fun half of the show, 1 p.m. Eastern time every Thursday. With Emma, Matt Leck, Brendan Finn, and sometimes Brandon from the Discourse joins us. I don't know if he's joining us tomorrow. I never find out till he's there. But always a pleasure to have any combination of those wonderful people on the show. Tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, Majority Port. And then 9 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow will be the weekly Doomed live stream show. It will be good. I promise you. One more thing I wanted to ask you guys. On top of patreon.com/MattBinder, if you could afford to subscribe to this show, I greatly appreciate it. And you really help fund everything that I'm doing and trying to do. You help the show grow. You guys know what I say when it comes to the dream. The dream is to get the show going more regularly. And also, up my output. But what you could also do to help this show is go to Apple Podcasts and type in Doomed with Matt Binder and leave a review. You could leave a star review, a written review, which is like a couple away from like 300 reviews. If we could get to that, that'd be great. And then we'll go for 400, then 500, then 600. But if we get to 300, that'd be great. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/MattBinder. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram @MattBinder. Just search Matt Binder on whatever social media platform you're on. You'll find me probably. Folks, I think that's... Here comes the guy. I think that's it. I think we're calling it a show for today. This last-minute live stream, I'm very happy that the new setup worked. In my opinion, it worked even better than the old setup, which is obviously what I was going for. But good to know that's what happened. It'd be pretty funny if I was going for something worse, right? But anyway, let me just make sure. One last check if there's any super chats I missed. Don't want to miss any super chats. That's... All right, perfect. That is the show for today, folks. And I will see you all tomorrow. That's right, tomorrow. Oh, wait. Dinah says, just for the hell of it, Matt, why not give George Soros a call and ask for money? I should, right? See you all. Tomorrow I'll take calls. I saw some people asking if I was going to open the phone lines today. We will take calls tomorrow on the show. YouTube.com/MattBinder. As usual, the Thursday show, we will take calls on the second half of the show. Otherwise, see you all tomorrow, and join me all next time. On Doomed.